You got to work for it. And like it says in Exodus 20:9, it says, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. So in other words, some people work Monday through Saturday. Some people, depending on how your shift goes. But overtime and stuff like that to try to have extra money, but you still have to get out there and physically do that. And like you were saying back in the intro, yeah, we figured that out real quick during the pandemic about what your job was because we had people that really didn't get no time off, like nurses and stuff like that. They had to be in the hospital because you had people coming in sick. What they was calling them were essential workers. So they was out there providing care for the ones that couldn't. And then it was some jobs that you got to stay home and do on the computer, but not exposing you from the virus. But and like I tell you, today's society, we do a job. Sometimes our pay ain't equal to what we do. I mean, some jobs out here are pretty rough. But when you go down to and see the wages that you get for that job, you're like, this is all I've been paid for this. I mean, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of back breaking work goes, and get underpaid for it, so to say. And yeah, we want to get paid appropriately for the job that we do because not too many people do what you do. But for the effort that you put your body on the line for, you kind of want a good reasonable wage. you know. But also, like it was saying here that so, profits that needed to make a living wage will continue into today. As a result, people often not being valued for their work. Such attitudes belly the work part of the design for a happy fulfilled human society. Also, you gotta think about it. Have you ever trained anybody at your job? Trained a lot of people, right? You don't get nothing paid extra for doing that, right? But then you like, that's where that part of come in. Well, I'm gonna get paid a reasonable rate. If I gotta train somebody, hey, get a little bit extra for doing it, cause that's more of your time that you gotta spend doing something else. But and that's what's wrong with the workforce today. They putting too much on certain people to do a lot of jobs that should be spread it out for several people, but they think that you can just do that. The one be alright now, but that's why, like I said, you want to get paid accordingly to what you do. But also, Genesis 2:15 tells us that God placed the human male in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it by himself. Yet soon realized that this was not the optimal situation. The man needed companionship, another creature could share the load. In Genesis 2:19 and 20, the man continued to work, naming the animals, and there was an actual search for which animal might be appropriate for a companion. Clearly, however, the human male needed another human being, one who could work in a partnership with him. God then created a woman from the man, who was the bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh. The man recognized that at last the search of an appropriate partner was over. Husband and wives working together as equals is a beautiful relationship where human partners are not more valued than a horse or a pet, or as something or someone who must be dominated. In Genesis, work was necessary for the upkeep of an environment that was conducive to the flourishing of life that is still the task. God creates the planet Earth with all the ingredients needed for animals, plants, and human life to survive and thrive. In the original plan, the woman and the man were assigned together to have stewardship over God's creation. The work began done yielded the same payout as perfect place of the flourishing of the life. So if you notice here, now you know the whole reason why man and woman was created. It was a partnership, am I right? We just read that it was a partnership to where a man and a woman both can work together and provide and like they said, cultivate the garden. Not one person can do a lot of stuff by themselves. That's why God He created that woman to help equal out the load. He knew that man couldn't do it all by himself. So that's a good thing about partnerships, you know. Especially with that, you know, sometimes one feels like they might be doing all the work and the other one's not. That's on your job. Seem like you doing the bulk of the work, while this is over here like we don't know what he's doing, kicking rocks, doing something, drinking up all the water. But when it's time to, you know, leave, that's the first one out the door, right? First one gone. But like I said, if we look at this together, it's saying even as Christians, working together helps out a lot. Having a partnership helps out a lot because, like I said, you sharing the equal load, you sharing equal things, and but works is not the only activity that keeps life in balance. Just as God rested from work, Genesis 2:3, God required the human begin to rest for labor. God blessed and made holy day for rest for the people. To be forced to work from kin to king is not a part of God's desire, nor is it becoming a workaholic by one's own choice. Why do people become workaholics anyway? For the love of money. Families and churches should follow a proper balance of work and rest. Children should learn that work is valuable by contributing to the household. That is big because nowadays some children think that they don't have to do anything, they can just want. I want this, I want that, I want this. Well, if we give them everything that they wanted, how are they going to learn how the value of working for it, paying for it yourself, the value of it? Anybody can give you anything, but then if you start giving the child a whole lot of stuff, they're not going to work. They don't have that ethic. They're just gonna what? Depend on everybody else. Amen. It's just like that little story about the grasshopper, ants and the grasshopper. Well, the ants was doing all their work and storing up for the winter. The old grasshopper, he was out there just dancing around. They kept telling him, hey, you better store up some food. The winter's approaching. And what happened? He never did. Then the winter approaches, your man almost froze and starved to death because he didn't put no food up like the ants did. But you know what? The ants gave him some food anyway. They could have just said, get on out the way. You know, you could have did just like we done, but you didn't. But no, they had helped him out. But like, that's important. Like I said, even like giving kids small tasks and chores at home to do, you know, it's just, hey, pitch in, help out. All right. If you start them off young and let them, they'll have that with them when they grow up, you know. But today's society, they look at social media and see all this stuff is, oh, well, they're not doing anything, but, you know, they making this and this and that. Well, you're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes. Anything that shines and looks good, it ain't. Like they say, oh, the grass ain't always green on the other side, is what they saying. But like today's society, how many of y'all ever know somebody at your job that work 24/7? I gotta go to work. I see y'all like can't talk to you. I gotta go to work. Gotta go to work. Like, man, do you ever sit down? Nah, I gotta get up and go to work. And it's nothing wrong, but it is because you really got a problem because you just, I gotta work, but you gotta rest. Your body's designed. You gotta rest. You have to rest because if you don't rest, you messing up your whole health, your mental capacity as well. But you know, like I said, for the love of money, you can make all the money in the world, but when you go, it ain't going with you, is it? It's still gonna be here. You're gonna be gone, but it's still gonna be here. But then too, sometimes you can work and not realizing how much time done passed. You can work your whole life and not really realize, wow, that much time that passed? Where was I at? Said work. Like I said, I mean, yeah, we have to work to survive. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, even God had to take a day of rest. So you can work these amount of days, but you need to stop, take a rest. Why? Because keep that holy. My Lord. Really, that day is to thank God for what you made over the week or whatnot. You know, giving back. That's where, tithes come in too, because you giving back to God what He has given you, you giving back His portion. But, like I said, some people, I mean, money's cool, but money ain't all that. Ain't all that. Let's go ahead and skip down to the second section. And it says Jesus' dignity of labor. And it is John 5, verse 17, and then 9 and 4. And it says, but Jesus answered them, my Father is still working, and I also am working. Does anybody know kind of what that means? No. Everybody want to take a stab at it? Come on. It said, but Jesus answered them, my Father is still working, and I am also working. He said his Father is still trying to get you in the realm of Him. Right. He's still trying to save your life. And that's what Jesus said to them. My Father is still, so am I. He's still trying to lead you to the promised land. He's still trying to get you to the right and narrow. That's how much compassion God has for His kids. He don't want to see us go down the wrong path, or He don't want to see us going to hell when we can go to heaven if we just trust in Him. Trust in Him. That's what He said. My Father's working, also am I. Even us today, we say we're Christian, we say we believe in God, we still have a job to do. Mm-hmm. What is our main job? Anybody know? What are most things that we're supposed to do as being a Christian? Right? Testify about God. Try to lead people to God. Because like I said, they say a faith without works is dead, but if we're not doing our job, if we're not working like we're supposed to be working within the church, within the out here in the community and things like that, how are we going to be a good advocate for people to come to Christ if we're not working? Like I said, if you don't work your job, you ain't gonna get paid, are you? You call out all the time, they gonna fire you. Then what are you gonna do? And the same here. He said, as long as my Father, I'm gonna work too, so I'm still working to get you to come with me. Come on, that's it. I mean, think about it. God is working in all our lives. We might not see it. Right, he's fighting battles right now that we don't even know about. Because, He's still working for us. That's the reason why He said, no matter what, I'm always with you. All right. Regardless of what situation we face or what goes on in our lives, He's still working right there with us. It could be worse than what it is, but God steps in. He knows what you can bear and what you can't bear. Yes, He does. He knows just how much you can bear. Yes, ma'am. And also in verse 9 and 4, it says, we must work the works of Him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. So He's saying, don't put it off. Work right now. Night is coming. Before I guess they established a night shift at jobs, you work during the day. When night came, what happened? Everybody went home. You can't work now. So, and when they're saying about when night is coming, it said that when that day comes, you won't be able to work. Cause like, you know, do it while it's day. While it is day, night is coming when no one can work. When it, like right now, let's work. We can't put our society. Sometimes I'm bad about this. I ain't gonna lie. I put a lot of stuff out. When I should go ahead and take care of it right then and there. Cause the longer you put stuff off, the harder it's gonna be. Cause sometimes you forget. Oh, I was supposed to do this, that, this, and that. Well, sometimes it's too far, and it's almost time to where I was supposed to have this done by this certain day. Well, the day is tomorrow. So what you got to do? The day before you hurrying up trying to get stuff together, you know, prepare. But you already knew the day was coming, you know. But procrastination. But you know, when God wants us to do something, sometimes when God asks us to do things, we try to put it out. Don't put it out. It says the ability to work as well as the availability of work are gifts from God. And yet, to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table, people often must do work that do not find enjoyable or fitted to their abilities. A good attitude for all work is to view any task as one to be done for the glory of God. That is, work God has assigned our hands and our minds and our spirit to do. Work done work done will can lift up humanity and should be done to the best of our ability. Christians should work to please God and build up people. A time is coming when the opportunity for building up is over. Some people do not always see certain kinds of labor as work. Tasks that require extreme physical exertion or time are the only labor they recognize. They may not see the duties of the preacher as work. For instance, they do not understand studying, meditating, praying, and tasks that require mental, spiritual, and emotional exertion as work. Parents may view the work teachers do as toil, as easy because they have summer vacation like the students do, making their own work for more difficulty because they must find childcare. In truth, preaching and teaching are works that Jesus did. He and his Father will continue to work, teaching, uh, um, yeah, continue work of creation, drawing people into the abundant life that God envisioned for them. So, in other words, like it was saying, you know, like preachers, yeah, they have to meditate, pray on what they're gonna preach about. They want to make sure that they delivering the right message that God wants him to preach to his flock. It takes a lot, and like they said about the teacher, yeah, you know, some teachers they get off during the summer, but also at the same time too, they still have to do a lot of workshops during the summer that they have to go through, you know, certain educational things. Like education really does change a lot. It really does. You know, looking at my kids' stuff sometimes, I'm like, I don't remember that in school. Well, that's something new, ain't it? But it evolves. Everything evolves. Everything don't stay the same. Things evolve. But as what they were saying there, you know, some things that we do, we might not like the job that we have, but you know, it's God providing a way for us to survive. Yeah, I mean, not everybody got the job that they wanted, but you know, the job is taken care of. It's provided. You know, yeah, sometimes you might have to put a little physical labor and stuff, you know, but you know, in the end, God's got you. He's taking care of it. But, and like it's saying is too, as Christians, like Brother Wood have said earlier, we should be uplifted, being kind of one another. That's how we can keep our form going with our relationship with God. You know, be that one. Just get out here and, you know, talk to somebody. Uplift it. You never know who's going through something. You know, sometimes a kind word can just spark somebody up. They might be in a deep depression or something. Somebody come talk to them and like pull them out. You never know. But you never know. You never know. So, we're gonna go ahead and read the third and final section, and it says, "Work as witnesses and responsibility." Now, this is gonna be it's two books that we're coming from, and the first one is Acts 20, verses 33 through 35, and then we got that Second Thessalonians 3, verse 6 through 12, and it says in the New Revised, I covet no one's silver or gold or clothing. You know for yourself that I work with my own hands to support myself and companions. In all this I have given you example that by such work we must support the weak. Remember the words of the Lord Jesus, for himself said, it is more blessed to give than receive. And that is true. Sometimes, we get down on ourselves because we didn't get what we want, but sometimes, you never know, a situation come up. You might see a stranded family, down on their luck. You probably only have $20 left in your name, and you need that for yourself. But if you give him that $20, God's gonna bless you. He'll probably bless you more than what you had to give them. But you never know who God sends to you. That's the thing. You never know. Like I said, sometimes you don't meet people. Everybody in our lives, we meet people in our lives that there's a reason why we met them. Sometimes you might figure it out, sometimes you never do. But we meet people all the time. And like it said in itself, not only just doing good, but working. Put in that work ethic. Put in that work ethic. Like I said, this whole topic is about working. Work for the church. If there's something in the church that can be done, hey, I can do that for you. Or, if things, if somebody can't do something, hey, I got you. I take care of that for you. Because we all supposed to work together for the greater good, right? Amen. In 2 Thessalonians 3, 6 and 12, it says, Now we command you, brothers and sisters, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, to keep away from every brother or sister living irresponsible and not according to the tradition that they received from us. For you yourself know how you ought to imitate us. We are not irresponsible when we were with you. And we did not eat anyone's bread without paying for it. But the toil and labor we work night and day so that we may not burden any of you. This was not because we do not have the right, but in order to give you any example to imitate. For even when we were with you, we gave you this commandment. Anyone unwilling to work should not eat. For we hear that some of you are living irresponsible, mere busybodies not doing any work. Now such persons we command and exhort in the Lord Jesus Christ to do their work quietly and earn their own living. And add to that, like I know everybody has got one of them little calls and little spam calls all the time, right? Sometimes I just be like, how in the world do y'all have time to sit here and try to scam people out of? As long as you doing this, you could actually have a real job and made some money by now, Instead, what are they trying to do? Kind of get your money. But I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy. Like it was saying, a person that don't work shouldn't eat. I know. Because what did he do to earn that? Nothing. But like I said, they depended on other. That's what it's saying, being irresponsible and other stuff like that. Now, not everybody has the best opportunity. I understand that, really, I do. Some people down on their luck. Some people that have families. And it's hard for them to. I'm honest, especially with things going on nowadays. The price of food going up. It's hard. Yes, it is. It's real life. If you ain't got nobody helping, it's hard. Yes, it is. and somebody trying to support their family and trying to put food on their table. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you come a little short. But some people out here though, you know, knowing they got a family, but yet and still they take their money and do else stuff with it, like going out, buying new clothes, stuff like that, knowing you got responsibilities over you, got a whole family you got to feed, but yet and still you want to take the easy way out. Then what you want to do? You want to sit around mad, feel sorry for his. Hey, can I borrow da 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 da? Okay, but I see you bought that new car or whatever. I mean, I'm not judging nobody, but but I don't know everybody's financial thing. That's not me. It's between them and God. But it is kind of funny though. And today's society is real bad like that though, because nobody want to actually get out and work. And that's the thing with our politicians today. Who they supposed to be working for the people, but they working for themselves and lining their pocket. And it's showing. It's showing back. But I mean, as long as we keep our hand to the plow, as they say, God's gonna, He got us. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard out here. But God will provide. But we still have to have that same work ethic. Yeah, have to. Think about the traits and skills that your parents or your uncles or somebody or aunties taught you when you was young, and you use them today. It was a skill that was embedded in you. Regardless of what happened, I can do this. I may not can physically work. Maybe I can cook real good. Maybe I can sell some place to help me, you know, um, survive a little bit. Or I know how to mow a yard. I might not. I might not. I might know how to work on a car or something like that. But I mean, the skills that you inherited, and God placed those skills in us. And also it says, Paul grew up in a family of Pharisees who took their Jewish faith seriously. He was a Roman citizen that had been throughout educated in Jewish law and traditions by one of the greatest teachers of all time, Gamaliel the elder, growing up in Tarish. Paul had benefited living in a culture that valued philosophy and rhetoric. A clue as to why that he became such a skilled orator and was a good at arguing a point and appealing to others stepped in Greco Roman culture. In this environment, in addition to speaking Aramaic, the language of the people in the region, he learned how to read and speak Greek. Paul was also a tent maker. He worked his craft during the mission trip. You can find it in Acts 18, verses 1 through 4. This kept him from being a burden to those who offered him and his companion hospitality. He used some of the money gained by his work to give offerings to those who had need. Paul encouraged believers to follow the example by that he said wherever he went, never freeloading on his host, working his trade and giving to those in need. Some had become slack, and all these tasks saying that they were waiting for the return of Christ. What was the point of working? Paul admonished them to hold fast to the tradition he had taught. One of which was those who choose not to work would not eat. A person who did not contribute to the common table cannot then partake of the food being offered there. So in other words, some of these people he was talking about, well, they all went out. Paul said, well, I know a skill, so he did tents or whatnot. He gave money. He gave some to the people that didn't have. He said, I didn't want to be a burden to the ones. In other words, he didn't want to be a freeloader. Hey, they showing hospitality. They may be giving them food and whatnot, but he said, I appreciate it, but hey, I can pay for my helping you out. But some of them here are what? Taking advantage of the situation. well, I'm just gonna kick back. They gonna give us something to eat anyway. Hey, I ain't gotta do too much nothing. But that's how some people think. They'd rather take a handout than to do for themselves. I mean, because and and that's what it was saying here that hey, I don't want to be labeled as one of those people that have to depend on people. I can do it myself. But at the same time, he did it himself, but he helped others as well. In application and review, work is part of God's design for a happy and healthy human society. From the time a child can play with his toys, they should be taught that cleaning up after themselves is part of their duty to the economy and ecological of a loving household. God put people in families to support one another so that they might flourish together in a careful balance of work and rest. A family represents the community at large, and each member of the family adds to the well-being of the group. Gaining a sense of belonging with and carrying out their responsibility, children should be taught to understand that they are co-creators with God, which brings God glory, and upbuilds the community and the excellence of their work. So in other words, like they say, we should teach them how, hey, you made this mess, pick it up. I mean, nobody else is gonna do it for you. You gotta learn the importance. You want these shoes? Okay, let's see what you can do. What kind of chores you can earn money to help you get those shoes? Things like that. You gotta instill in them, because if you don't, like they said, they're just gonna sit back and just wait on somebody else to do it for you. And that's not what God intended. Amen. Even with us, like, we still have to continue to work and thrive and try to be better Christians than we can be. Still have to provide and help out the community as well as the church and other things, or wherever else we need it. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I hope I might have said something that might help you along the way. And like I said, let's keep working for the Lord. Let's keep working for the Lord. And like they said, a person that ain't pulling their weight, you can't expect you can't expect to get the good of things if you're not putting forth the effort to help. Amen. You can't be a millionaire if you're not trying to better yourself and learn the trade and how to get there. You just can't expect for somebody to just give you that type of money. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Brother Wood for our collection. And thank you, and I appreciate it. Now, like I said again, Happy Mother's Day to all.
We was talking about work and looking at the lessons. I did a Google search. I did a Google search on the percentage of humans that are Christians. And it said approximately 28.8% to 31.5% of the global population identifies as Christians. All right. So then I did a Google search on the percentage of Christians doing God's work. And it said Christians that are actively involved in work in church, roughly 20%. While studies indicate that 6% or fewer maintain a consistently biblical worldwide view in their daily actions. Like Ted was talking about at work. You go to work, you work. But just think about it, you're at work. You're working on the line. 80% of people is messing around. Right? Then 14% are running in and out, going on smoke breaks, running in and out. So then the 6% you got left, what do they got to do? They gotta pick up the slack for the ones that not doing nothing or running around or halfway doing it.
All right.
So, we got a lot of work to do.
There.
That's why we have to depend on the Lord to help us and to guide us and to lead us, just like you were seeing today in our lesson. You know, he said him and God, they actively working together. Because they know that there's some slack that's gotta be picked up. So just think about it, 6% daily, worldwide biblical view.
Anybody got any comments, anything? That's a true statement you just tells us. A lot of times, some got to take up for the other slack and everything, but, that's what God doing, he taking up our slack, trying to help us and everything, but we want to try to do our own thing, but we'll fall by the wayside every time, but we do right, like we supposed to, everything will work out all right for everything.
Amen.
But if you don't more comments, anything, we'll close the word of prayer. Father in heaven, just want to thank for this lesson we have heard also, Lord. Just continue to keep it in our heart and use it as we go up and down these days and how we tell this dying world the wages of sin and everything. It's just when we have done the best we can, all we can do is just say, Lord, we thank you for what you have done for us and everything.
Amen.
Keep blessing that your daughter's son, Jesus.